Pete Malinverni here, Chair of Jazz Studies at Purchase College and co-curator along with Performing Arts Center Director Seth Soloway of Jazz at the Center, which of course is on break now, but we do hope to be getting together with you in person and presenting a very exciting season as soon as the situation will allow, the situation that we're all dealing with currently. But for now, we wanted to stay in touch with you all, and this is my little way. This is the third installment of my little series called What's Going On Up There, which is a look behind the curtain, if you will, at what happens in a jazz performance. We've talked about how the jazz musician is a musician who must be composer and performer at the same time, and so has to be able to deal in the moment very adeptly with the various elements of music that will evoke and express emotion, human emotion. And so we've talked about melody, we've talked about rhythm. Today we're going to talk about harmony. And harmony is easily explained just by thinking of human interaction. You know that one is oneself and can be a very independent and strong person, and someone else can be an independent and strong person. But when two people come together and are simpatico, what happens is their strengths join and something greater than just the two of them separately might have resulted in does occur. And of course, that's the sum being greater, the whole being greater than the sum of its parts, right? So today, harmony. I like to think of harmony as the thought of a school of fish, right? Swimming along, each fish on his or her own doing its thing, right? Every now and then a shaft of sunlight comes through the water and reveals where those fish are at that moment, right? And to me, that's a chord, right? So everybody's doing their own little melody, but those melodies line up, and at the same time, everybody's singing or playing a different note, which either sounds well together and is consonant, or sounds irresolved to us, and we call that dissonant, right? Dissonance and consonance. Just like life, it's about tension and resolution. Two notes can sound dissonant, as though they're fighting, but it doesn't take much for one of them to maybe give a little in the relationship and resolve the tension. Next time, maybe it's the other voice's turn. So let's see what happens if this voice changes. See? Everybody gives a little in a tense situation, and we find resolution. Well, it's like that with chords. And I like to think about, I like to imagine those of you who've been to Venice and have been to San Marco there, in that great edifice, there's the sanctuary itself is just mammoth, you know. And I like to think back in the Middle Ages when Gregorian chant or plain song, one note sung at a time, was the musical art of the day. And I can imagine a bunch of these monks sit at one end of the hall singing a chant that might have gone something like this. Everyone on the same line. Right? So that's a line that I might pull from a mode or a scale that we would call this mode here. Say the Aeolian mode, we'll call it. Right? You don't have to know about that. But just like when we talked about melody, there are notes that sound home in that scale and notes that don't. So we may go tension, resolution. Okay, so I can imagine these guys all at one end of the hall singing. And what comes back to them from the far reaches is an echo. So what comes back is perhaps a sound that they emitted a second ago. So that the line may be going like this, but what comes back is right at certain moments of that consonant, dissonant, dissonant, consonant, consonant, consonant. So what if Brother Theophilus hears this, right? And he goes to Brother Morty. He goes, hey, I'll sing this note. You sing this note. Oh, that sounds nice. Now we'll get Brother Antonin to sing this note. And now we'll all move. Now suddenly you start to have harmony. You start to have simpatico. And that's not to say that they eschewed dissonance, but they used it to effect. So let's say they went, right? So there's tension, there's resolution. This becomes then a tool for musicians, composers and performers, jazz performers who are composing as they play, to express and evoke moments of tension or resolution. We could say this is tense. We could say this is resolved. Well, I got an idea for a song. Feel free to use that. You can have that. I won't invoke my powers of copyright. But so this is what we have then. We have entire compositions. We have the basis of almost all Western music is this chord resolving to this chord. We play a major C major scale. We build a chord on the fifth step. And in that fifth step, the chord on that fifth step, in this case G7 or G dominant chord, we have this note, which we looked at in melody as a leading tone, and we have the fourth step of the scale that wants to resolve to the third. So these two notes create this dissonant sound. It's called the tritone. It used to be called the devil's interval back in the Middle Ages because it was like so harsh to hear. But that's okay. We resolve it. And that really becomes another element by which we express tension and resolution in music. It's very, I think, understandable and yet can be very, very deep. If we look at, for example, after this whole thing where people started to have counterpoint, in other words, notes going on, that became a whole study. Early on, people like Buxtehude were able to start to develop it, Palestrina, etc. And then in the hands of someone like Bach, it exploded. He really sort of fixed the whole notion of harmony for us. And I don't believe anyone's ever done anything any deeper. Certainly our notion of what sounds well together has changed over the centuries. But the fact remains, it's always in the service of to feel irresolute or resolved. Irresolved or resolved. Tension or resolution. If we hear this chord, sort of unsteady, it's a diminished chord. And from it we get all kinds of, you can imagine all the films you've seen this chord being used in, sort of neither here nor there, and it doesn't take much to resolve it. So, right? So I'm going to play a song for you by one of my great idols, Duke Ellington, now, called Sophisticated Lady, in which Duke takes what he knows about harmony and really plays with it. I hope you like it. Harmony. I really appreciate you joining me for this little series. I do hope you'll let me know how you're feeling, if you're enjoying these, and you can reach me at my purchase email, which is peter.malinverni@purchase.edu, or you can go to my website, petemalinverni.com. Or you can also reach out to the good folks at the PAC. We really appreciate you tuning in. I know many of you have. And we thank you so much for your support now and into the future. Take good care and stay well. Bye.